Yeah.
Oh, look.
Yeah.
I'll be the one to take the risk to go and get them bands. I'll be the one to never sit and go and make a plan. Knowing my mother getting old now, got no time. Gotta keep a couple for the road, let's get left behind. Yeah. To the 100 special allegiance I stand. I'm going for 4 in the fucking white sand. I give it all to this fucking mic stand. If it's been done before, then I know I can. I'm on the rise, I'm trying to keep a level head. She want my time, she begging me to give me neck. I'd rather shed blood to the ground while I'm here.
Sir. Yo, what's the deal, y'all? Hope all is well. Welcome back to another episode. I'm Duke.
I'm Omar.
I'm Jalon. And this is another episode of Nice and Neat. And we're a quarter of the way through the season.
God damn, already?
Yeah. We're a quarter of the way through, like flying on by. Flying on by.
Squeaking on by.
You know, so, you know, just hop straight into it. This topic today is interesting because we don't really dabble in this space per se anymore, but we've been there. We've been there. We've had errors, you know. Now we're in a new era, no pun intended.
Wow, I like how you spent that. That was like a double entendre.
You know.
Double entendre.
I like how you did that.
And I'm... Duke, you're in a relationship. Oh, you're in a relationship. I'm in a relationship. We're all in a relationship now. So we're not in the space of dating that we're talking about. We still date our women. We still court our women. We still make sure that we show that they're special every single day, every single moment, every single opportunity that we have. But in this episode, we're specifically talking to the single people that are still dating. And what we're talking about is, I think it's interesting, because there's going to probably be so many different perspectives on this topic. Is it more difficult to date in this day and age, in this era, in 2022, as a single person, as opposed to, you know, last time you were single was probably the top of 2017. You know, is it more difficult being single and dating in 2022 as opposed to when it was when you were single and dating?
Well, considering today's climate, it has to be more difficult.
What's today's climate?
Well, we all know that we're still in a pandemic.
Okay.
Right.
We did get COVID tested to be here.
Everyone here on set had to get COVID
Everyone,
tested.
even
right?
the people behind the camera, got COVID
So
tested.
we're still
yeah.
technically in the pandemic. We haven't officially left it, right? So because we've been in this pandemic, you know, a lot of things have changed for us, like from a social aspect, right? From really every part of our lives. Like there is no more, let me go out and meet somebody new. It's almost like, and I hate to even say this because I ain't gonna say the name, but I watched that documentary you told me on Homie Who Be Swindling. Okay,
So
right.
good.
I put so many people over there.
It's a great documentary. Unfortunately, like, you know, that's what people have had to resort to. We've had to resort to social media, which makes it hard to connect with people sometimes. You know,
Really connect.
to really connect. We don't really get that opportunity to really dive in and touch somebody really in a physical, you know, sense, you know, on a day-to-day basis because of the pandemic. So it's definitely got to be harder because we didn't grow up in that era. This is all foreign to us.
Yeah.
This is all new. No one really knows what tomorrow is going to be because we've never experienced a pandemic. Maybe older people, I don't even think that are still around have experienced. I think the last pandemic was before everyone was, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's definitely got to be different. It's definitely got to be more difficult for people out in today's world that are trying to date because things aren't the same. So, in that sense, it's got to be more difficult to date today than it was in the
I'm
past.
sure you got more reasons. We're gonna dive into it.
Of course.
We're gonna dive into it.
Yeah, I think,
what you think, dude?
Is it more difficult to date? Yes. Is it easier to meet people? Yes. That's a component.
Yeah.
So although it is more difficult to date and sustain relationships, it's much easier to meet people. And that's a big component because today it's much more, you know, I hate to just keep like using this word, but it's much more conducive to people who may not even be confident to go meet people. You know, I mean, think about it. I don't know the numbers, but I'm gonna say 1 out of every 5 relationships today started on Instagram. I don't know the numbers.
Or just a social platform.
Or just a social platform.
Yeah. Well, matter of fact, let's take a quick poll. Did you know who your girl was before you met her?
I did not.
Okay.
I had never seen her before.
You?
Yep. Sure did.
Same.
Okay.
So 2 out of 3, 66%.
Yes.
Right. So like, is it more difficult as far as like, man, I'm trying to cultivate something with this woman,
Establishing a connection.
and I have to compete with 6 billion other guys on this planet that have access to, not direct access, but can have access to my person, right? I am competing with other people for time. You know, it's just like everyone has access to everyone. If you're a guy who's making $70,000 a year, you know, before, that would probably be enough to, like, if a woman's in your face, she likes you, cool. If she's bad, you lucked up. But now anybody can see her, and she can see anybody. So it's very easy for her to say, oh, well, homie over there is checking for me. Homie over there is checking for me. Like, yo, I need you. And they can make that happen. So you're competing against the world, right? And then just also social pressure. It's much harder to date because everyone's looking at someone else's relationship as a barometer of how I should be acting. If I buy flowers for my girl or my whoever I'm dating for Valentine's Day, back in the day, she probably loved that and appreciated it. But if she sees on social media that other guys are buying different things and doing different things for their woman, it's like, what's the thing in school? The curve.
The curve.
The curve is moved, right? The curve moves. It shifts.
You love a good
and
curve.
it gets harder to meet the curve.
You know what I'm hearing? Constant across the board. People just got more options.
People got more options.
So you can't
more
have
options.
one without the other.
You know what they say
That's
about
it.
options, though?
If you got more than one option, you don't have a choice. I mean, you don't have a pick, quote unquote. That's a football thing.
Too
You
many
got two
options.
quarterbacks.
Too many
You got two
options.
quarterbacks. You have no quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah,
None. You don't know what to do.
you don't have no idea what to do. And you know, I'm glad that you say that things boil down to options, because for me, I don't feel like dating has gotten more difficult. I think that there are more outside forces, of course, for sure. But like at the end of the day, I think people's decision making has just been skewed. People don't make decisions anymore. People look up and they be like, I got options. So I don't have to decide to be committed. I don't have to decide to be faithful. I don't have to decide to be in this relationship with this one person, because I have access to so many other people that might suit my needs. And I think we've watched movies and heard about things, the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule, that 20 has been magnified to where it could look, that 20 looks like the 80. Because somebody can be giving you, and the 80-20 rule, if you guys don't know what the 80-20 rule is, the person that you're with or that you chose is giving you, the reason why you chose them is because they're giving you 80% of what it is that you want. And the 20%, maybe it may just be the way that someone dresses is what you magnify. So you look at it and you be like, oh, that's all that I'm missing. And because you feel like that's all that you're missing, you feel like that's all that you need. And you go after that 20. And then you realize you're stuck with the 20 while you let go of your 80. And I feel like we just live in a society now to where that 20 is magnified so much because of the vast presence of options, to where you start looking at that 20 rather than in one person, you look at it in 10 people. So that 20 feels like, oh, yo, I'm missing everything I could possibly have, when all you're doing is picking bits and pieces from these individual people that you're seeing on Instagram, or social media or Tinder.
Yeah. But like social media and these platforms are just one part of it,
Right.
Dating is also hard because I don't feel like men and women, we've identified our roles or I guess we've gotten away from what we think is our role. So back in the day, things probably were a little more short. Now it's a little more confusing, right? So when it comes to establishing relationships with people, it's very hard to cultivate anything if you guys don't know who's you know, responsible for certain roles. And that's not even in like in a relationship level. That's just in like man versus woman level, you know. The more successful, I guess, the more ambitious, the more successful like that women become, the more they can kind of demand what they want as far as like, yo, we're not doing this. I need this. I need doing this. And so what that happens is now men got to kind of get on board and catch up with certain things that were different, right? So now, because it's such a shock, it could be like, oh, damn, I ain't ready for that. You know, so now, like, I don't know if y'all know, but I feel like it's such, today, it's like men versus women, everything. It's like gender wars galore.
And everything.
You know what I'm saying? It's like anytime someone on social media, if it's a famous woman, you know, does something that she kind of gets over or like kind of gets a one up on a man, it's like all the women say, yeah, ha, 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 we up. You know what I mean? Vice versa, same thing for men. So everything becomes like a, you know, real combative. Yeah. So it's not like we're working together. It's like we're working against each other. That makes it hard to date, you know, because people are coming to these relationships with negative reference points, you know? And I think that that's just one component of it, but there's so many.
Do people, because of social media, are people also walking into these relationships, making it harder to date today with heightened expectations?
Oh, expectations.
I feel like they're through the fucking roof right now. And it's because of all of this public display of this false narrative that a lot of people are creating about what their life looks like, how happy they are in this relationship, and it's forcing other people to say, yo, if my shit doesn't look like that, then I can't be happy. You know what I'm saying? So,
I think the story of the fairy tale is on. It's times 10,000. Like
thousand.
Yeah, it's like, and like, don't get me wrong, the fairy tale is a beautiful thing. Like the fairy tale is a beautiful thing.
Of course, we all want fairy tales.
You know, just from a little girl saying, you know, when I grow up, I want to marry someone that's just a Prince Charming, and he just treats me good, and I want to have a beautiful wedding, and I want my white dress to be beautiful and great, right? Now you get to see what everybody's fairy tale looks like. So now you start piecing together everybody else's fairy tale. Okay, I want my Prince Charming to make this much. I want my Prince Charming to look like this. I want my Prince Charming to be this.
I need my wedding to look like that.
I need my wedding to look
house
like
gotta be like this.
Speaking of, see, I know we're talking about dating, but you know, if you're dating, you're obviously trying to get to the end point, and the end point is marriage. Or life partnership, whatever it is that people decide that they want their endpoint to be. But the endpoint of dating isn't dating. So like you said, marriage, right? You're engaged.
Yes, sir.
You're engaged. What is the I'll lay it out. What is the fairy tale that you're dealing with right now within the marriage aspect of men and women?
Well, we're planning a wedding, so we're dealing with the fairy tale wedding right now. You know, and I think all of us at some point, one way or another, are gonna have to experience that.
Oh man, I mean, we're dealing with fairy tales in every different level that we're in right now.
Levels. And you know what, and I know because the type of men you guys are, you know, we want to provide. I want that fairy tale for her. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like really defining what fairy tale looks like for you guys. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not what everything that she's piecing together from the shit that she's seeing. No, she actually has a true vision and dream and fairy tale of her own. And like constantly having that conversation about like, this is our fairy tale. We're not living someone else's. No, we're living ours, you know? So like, I think that's important to keep at the forefront of your mind when you're dealing with someone that you're in a relationship with, that you're talking about marriage or just life ever after with, you know, not ever after with, but just forever with, you know?
Yeah. Another thing, bro, that just reminded me, because we all want fairy tales, right?
Yeah, of course.
But it's like nowadays, people don't want the fairy tales. People either want fairy tales nowadays or they want to be like savages. It's either or. You know what I mean?
And it's no middle.
It's like no middle. It's like now it's just like, nah, I'm a savage. I don't want to love. I don't care. I don't care for love. I don't care. I'm a savage. So like, it's almost like it's cool to not care now.
Yeah.
It's like who can care the least. It's like
And be the coolest about
who's
it.
going to win in the end, you know? And I think that just naturally, if anyone is, this is just natural human nature. If people are telling you or people have the energy to you, you probably gonna have the energy to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That just made me think about something right now when you said people are just like, oh, be savages and, who can care the least. It made me understand, like, I think we're in a space where people are just completely living in fear. And they don't want their life to go to a certain point because you can possibly get hurt. Like when you move out of because being a savage is comfortable.
Yeah.
It's comfortable.
Is it?
It's very comfortable.
Yeah.
Because you get to
You
do
may not
what
be happy, though.
Yeah. You get to do what you want to do every single day. That's comfortable. That's what comfort is. Hey, if I feel like talking to somebody today, I feel like talking to somebody. If I don't, I don't. And that's the savage aspect. But when you got to be like, I'm talking to somebody, but like they don't feel a certain way today, and I need to make sure I'm there for their feelings and comfort them and be there. That's real. That's really, really stepping out of your comfort zone. And I think the reason why dating is so difficult now is because everybody wants to be comfortable. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you say all the time? Get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable, absolutely.
And being uncomfortable is where growth lives.
Yeah.
No one wants to grow within relationships anymore. And that's why dating is so difficult.
Growing in a relationship.
Nobody wants to grow. Like,
because growing hurts.
Growing hurts,
also
bro.
What they say, you have growing pains.
Yes.
That's a real thing. No one wants to endure that pain.
Not to forget though, growing is a process. Growing takes time. We want everything fast.
Come on.
Mike, we live in a microwave society today.
So we not trying to spend that time growing with anybody.
Nobody want to be.
Right?
No.
If it ain't happening right now, it's not happening for me.
Ain't no Betty Crockers.
So we definitely
Ain't no Betty Crocker.
We're definitely a more impatient generation.
Yeah. I think that's just a result of like our climate because everything is so instant now.
Tech
has
yep.
Tech has us up, yo.
Yeah.
Seriously,
Yeah.
Tech makes us believe that everything should be done right now, and unfortunately, we've taken that concept, that way of thinking, into our relationships, and it's made it so hard for just everyday folks to date. It makes it so hard to connect on a real level,
And it makes me think right now, like just like that the instant, one thing I can relate to instant and like not wanting to try and not wanting to grow is sex. Like if I can have sex with you faster than I can have sex with her, why am I going to deal with anything you come with?
That's real.
I don't necessarily need that. If I can just have sex with her, that's what I want. Because most people think the end goal is sex. That's just what most people think. Even and I'm gonna say women feel that way as well. Like sex, cool. We got sex, bet. That will be what our center of our bond is, not what everything looks like, what it grows like. Like I don't think people, a lot of people don't know who they are. A lot of people don't know what they want, and you got to know who you are before you know what you want. So, like one thing that's really important to me, like when I choose my partner is,
So profound.
come on now, when I choose my partner is when I die, and then we have children, are they gonna be raised the same exact way? Is the legacy gonna live on the same exact way? And I've been reading a lot of just stuff and just seeing a lot of things online and just people talking about how important it is to choose your partner. It's so important to choose your partner. Like we're business partners. All three of us, we're business partners. But like your partner should be your best business partner. That should be the one. That should be the person that you just feel comfortable just handing the reins over to them and choosing them. Not because they had a nice car. Not because you chose them because they was popping the most bottles at the club. Part of the difficulty of dating is you looking at the outside rather than trying to find out what's in the inside of people.
Man, get into that interior. You worry about the paint job.
Come on now.
I'm talking about what color the seats, fam.
And then you want to go deeper, like, yo, what material you using here?
Nah, for real though. For real though, this is that leather suede.
That's the engine talking about, bro. That's the V6, V8.
You feel me?
What kind of oil you take, baby?
You feel me? Ooh.
No, that's and like those things are really important. Like, you know, and then I feel like as well we're in a time where it's like, what can the person that I choose do for me? And when you choose a person, like, what can they do for me? You're not choosing what can I provide for them. So when they stop doing that for you, the relationship's over. If you're here to pour into somebody and give to somebody and do things for somebody, then the relationship can always thrive because they'll mirror you. But you know, that's what we're here to talk about today.
What's the deal, y'all? Welcome back to the Nice and Neat Halftime Show. I'm your host, Omar, man, and welcome back to another episode of Nice and Neat. Man, we're about to get into the halftime show, one of my favorite segments of the show. Dim the rules. Duke, talk to me. What we got, fam?
Yo, so there's a show on Netflix right now. It's out called Tinder Swindler.
Oh,
right? It's called Tinder Swindler.
I need to watch that.
It's actually pretty interesting, right? So it's kind of going to be the premise of our halftime, right? So the question, well, let me break down the Tinder Swindler. A guy basically swindles women, swoops women off their feet, makes them fall in love with them. These women have come from like rich families, have a lot of money.
Sometimes they don't.
Or sometimes they don't have a lot of money, but they just got something more than him. And somehow he just kind of cons them and convinces them to like spend money on him, and he uses their money to pay for other women's
like a Ponzi
flights,
scheme.
Right? It's crazy. So, but these are women that he's met online, right? And now that you know he's in person, it's just a complete bad experience. So what I want to ask you guys, right? In situations, right? Because
don't disrespect my man, the Tinder Swindler, like that. Like he was really
out here.
Like
really
even in person, he got him on PJs and everything.
He's
4 seasons.
No, he's proper though.
Yeah, he really runs a full business.
He do his thing.
No, for real though.
Y'all gotta check it out. But let me ask y'all something though, right? Because sometimes people still to this day, this wasn't a catfish situation, but today, people still get catfished, right? What are some things that people can do to make sure that they never get catfished in their life?
In their life? I mean, it's kind of tough, bro.
That's tough.
Today, how do you make sure you never get catfished today?
It's impossible. You cannot say never. Bro, we live in an age where people could Photoshop anything.
I don't think you're hearing me. How do you make sure? What are the precautions you're going to take to make sure that you do not get catfish?
I mean, you could take precautions, but I low-key agree with O. And the reason why I say I agree with O, because if you taking these precautions, how you going to ever give yourself the opportunity to really get to even know somebody? Part of the reason why the Tinder Swindler was so effective, and we just talking about the Tinder Swindler. Come on now, hear me out. We talking about the Tinder Swindler. Part of the reason why he was so effective is because he tapped into their emotions. And the emotion, he showed him the social proof.
Nah, he was a real person.
He was a real person.
He was a real person. I ain't talking about that. He you know what? He lied about his intentions, but he was a real person.
No. He lied about who he was.
Okay, he lied about who he was.
He photoshopped himself into a photo of a billionaire who said he owned a diamond company.
Okay, his face, the face they saw was the face that they saw. All right? I'm saying, how do you, right, in order for me, if I meet a woman today from Australia, how do I make sure?
FaceTime. Hop on the FaceTime.
FaceTime.
Hop on the FaceTime.
FaceTime.
Right? We just talking about, when we say catfish, we just talking about looks.
FaceTime.
Okay, hop on the FaceTime.
You can't catfish me on FaceTime.
Yeah, I feel like that should be understood though. Like even if you meet like,
but how do people still get catfished?
Because they don't hop on the FaceTime.
Because they don't hop on the FaceTime.
You got to get on the FaceTime.
It's literally that simple.
You got to get on the FaceTime.
It's that simple,
but
bro.
check this out though. We talking about social media as well. Let's say somebody follows somebody on social media. Let's say they follow them for 9 months. They following them and everything is consistent. Right? Everything is consistent. Y'all start talking, y'all DMing, y'all going back and forth, y'all hopping on the phones, y'all chopping it up, going back and forth. I know that you guys are going to think this sounds crazy, but I know some people who have had a problem to where their FaceTime only worked on Wi-Fi when they have Apple phones. So like some people, if they're not on Wi-Fi, their FaceTime don't work. So like, let's say they just did that, and by you having your emotional connection with somebody, because that emotion aspect is huge in the catfishing. That emotional connection, you got that emotional connection, so y'all talking back and forth. You're not even pressed about the FaceTime because you're like, man, I like the person. Like, it's all good. I see their social media. I get to see them, so it's not like I don't get to see them. I see their stories. I see everything. I can see how somebody get catfished.
Hey, you know what? You know what else? What else that you could do? You cannot. You shouldn't trust someone who doesn't have videos on their social media.
No,
right? If you're dealing with somebody who just has videos on social media, even if you haven't had the FaceTime, another way to figure that out and to get to the root of the catfishing is, let me see if they got any videos on their social media. If they don't have any videos, you can't trust it. You gotta let it go.
So you're right. You're right about something. Social proof, though.
You need that social proof.
You need that social
proof. All right. So video, FaceTime.
Yeah.
And them.
Duh.
Rules.
Okay. With that said, y'all, we're going to conclude this week's halftime show and get into the second half the only way we know how. That's with some positive energy, some positive vibrations, and a smile. Of course, man, second half, let's go.
See, halftime got me thinking when we say, like, making sure somebody doesn't catfish you or making sure somebody doesn't catch you slipping, quote unquote. If we playing that game, we kind of buy into the exact thing that we're talking about when people are not showcasing real vulnerability. Because if you're making sure somebody doesn't do something, your guards is always up. Correct?
For sure.
You're making sure like your guards are always up and you're always waiting for somebody to make a mistake. So you're not even giving yourself the real chance to really be like, let me like actually like really fall for this person. So when we're talking about dating in this day and age, and if your guards are up, because you need to make sure that something doesn't happen. You need to make sure that the social proof is there and it's in alignment with their social media. Like, what advice are we giving somebody? What advice are we giving somebody if we're telling them to make sure that this doesn't happen, make sure this doesn't happen, make sure this doesn't happen? Because that's all they're really doing is making sure that they don't get played. And people move into relationships by saying, let me make sure I don't get played. And you could never showcase true vulnerability by making sure you don't get played. Because honestly, if your girl today, both of y'all girl today, ran off with everything in your bank account, you wouldn't say you got played. You'd just be like, I can't believe she did that. You wouldn't be like, she got me. You wouldn't say that. But because your vulnerability lives there, you can say that. So like, what would you say to somebody for so they don't quote unquote get played?
Be honest and transparent about what you want, how you feel. Honesty and transparency, I think, is the answer to a lot of our problems, right? If you're just honest and transparent about your feelings, your intentions, how could you get played? If you do, it's, you don't get played. I just didn't align with someone who was aligned with my beliefs, my perspective, and my outlook. I don't feel like that's you getting played. It's just like, okay, because that person just wasn't right for me. You move on to the next. But if you never express those things, if you keep those things internalized, then you never get the solution that you want. You never get the answer you're seeking. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta be vocal about your perspective, your beliefs, what you believe, everything that you stand for. You know, if you're not vocal about it, then you won't get what you want.
Yeah, I don't think nothing's like wrong with just being cautious. You know, I think there are certain situations where we should have the etiquette where it's just like, hold on, let me just be cautious because, yeah, I could get played based on history. All right, not just like walking around scared to just be open, but based on history, I should be, you know, if I'm dealing with, if I see a woman and, you know, I kind of know that she has a history, I like her, but I kind of know that she has a history of playing dudes, then my guard should be up.
Why are you talking to her in the first place?
I kind of like her. My guard should be up. So maybe we could get, once I get past that first phase, we can figure it out. So for like a catfish situation, hey man, look, I know the history says that when people meet online, sometimes the person's not what they say they are. That's what history tells me.
Yep.
Now, if I never experienced that, all right, cool. What's the problem? But because history tells me that, you know what? I think I like this person. everything matches up, but I need to see the FaceTime. I need to talk to her in person. I need to just, or not in person, but we need to have like real live conversation, because text is not live conversation. Phone, you can manipulate people, but like we need to have that live. So that's not like, that's being cautious, but I think that's justified. You know what I'm saying? I think that it's okay to tell people, hey, yo, like proceed cautiously in certain situations. I don't think that's wrong.
For how long?
Yeah. It just depends. It just depends. If you feel comfortable to move forward with this person and you've got the answers you were looking for, because I guess it is like an answer. Okay, I want to FaceTime because I need to know this person. Okay, once I got that confirmation, then everything is good.
I mean, and I feel you, but when we saying comfortable just kind of goes through what you've been through before. Like, you can lose somebody waiting till you feel comfortable. If you're not comfortable because somebody hasn't showed you something that you just feel like they expect you to show you on your time, that's not what a relationship really is.
So what you saying though? You saying that people should be dating openly without fear of anything?
I feel like your judgment going into a relationship should be very, very clear, and you should have a clear assessment of who it is before you even get to the point till you say we're dating. By the time you get to the point of saying you're dating, like, you should be open enough to be like, I'm going to experience them. By when you got your guard up, you can't experience somebody. Like, you just can't. Like, it doesn't work like that when you got your guard up to be able to like experience somebody.
Right.
So how long should somebody talk to somebody before they can actually experience them? Because we're talking about dating being more difficult now, you know, and like, granted, there's more ways to create a facade around your life. You know, the guy you're dating isn't your neighbor anymore. So where is that safety for them?
You know what? You've asked some great questions, and we have a lot of unanswered questions. And I think we need a woman.
I thought he was going to say a part two.
I think we need a woman to help us out. Which I think we need a woman to help us out, because we got some stuff to unpack.
Yeah.
Dating, why is it so hard to date? We can talk all we want from our perspective, but I think that a woman's perspective will be greatly appreciated, and I think it'll help us understand the landscape a little better,
as well as the listeners and the viewers,
and as well as the listeners and the viewers.
And you got to remember, like, for the most part, a man controls the aspect of relationships, like where it goes. Like, if a guy gets a girlfriend, it's not because the girl asked him.
Yeah. So,
you know, when it comes to a woman, where is the safety point for her to be like, okay, let me just experience this person? If the guy controls that aspect, where does she just be like, let me experience this person? Guys aren't out here getting catfish left and right. It's women. Women is the ones that's getting the short end of the stick the majority of the time. The Tinder swindler was about a man manipulating women.
Men out here getting catfished.
Men
don't get me wrong.
I gotta hold this down right now.
Men get catfish, bro. Men getting catfish, but like, men aren't to a point to where it's like their entire life is in shambles.
Yeah, I got you.
Nah.
Because of a decision they made with a woman. Women's entire lives are coming to an end because they love this man and gave him $10 million they never had. $250,000 they never seen. A $250,000, and they stuck with that bill off of the back of a man. Because she wanted to love freely. And we talking about the difficulties of dating. And like, I commend even those girls, like a lot of people talk about those girls in the Tinder swindler. I commend them for even wanting to be like, yo, I'm still looking for love out here. Because they would have got the best of me. They would have shut me down. It's over, fam.
You would have went dog on them.
Oh yeah, it's over. It's over.
But yeah, so I think we got to make that part 2 happen.
I would love to see a part 2.
We need a part 2.
Matter of fact, if you guys have a woman in mind that you guys think best suits this conversation, drop it in the comments below. We'll reach out to them, see if they're available, and
just
see
tag
if
them.
Yeah, just tag them. Let's see if they want to rock with Nice and Neat. We can get them on here. We can add another seat and have some real real deep
come to the new
conversation, and great
studio.
dialogue about this topic. Yeah,
I like that. That's fair. That's fair.
Okay. Well, y'all, appreciate you guys for watching and listening. Let us know what you thought about the episode. Make sure you guys subscribe to our podcast on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to us on Patreon for the exclusive content.
Please do.
All right. Follow us on Instagram at Nice and Neat the Podcast. Follow Jalon on Instagram at just.Jalon. Omar at Omar.Bowden. And myself at Duke. Once again, we really appreciate you. Thanks for rocking with Nice and Neat. We're going to see y'all next time. I'm Duke.
I'm Omar.
I'm Jalon. This is another episode of Nice and Neat, and that's that on that. Peace.
I'll be the one to take the risk to go and get them bands. I'll be the one to never sit and go and make a plan. Knowing my mother getting old and I don't got no time. Gotta keep a couple for the road, the rest get left behind. Yeah. To the hundreds, pledge allegiance, I stand. I'm going pour 4 in the fucking white sand. I give it all to this fucking mic stand if it's been done before.